Everybody, welcome to Fruitful Trees. I am here today at another tropical fruit nursery, and I've been wanting to come to this place for a while. This is called Al's Tropical Fruit Trees. I'm going to put his address and his link below the video. This place is great. You're really going to enjoy this tour because it's not only him showing us the trees he's selling, but he has a lot of knowledge about the trees, and I really pressed him and asked him a lot of the questions because I want to learn and I want you to learn. So we're going to learn a lot here today. So this is a 5-acre nursery here. We're in Homestead, Florida. That's South Florida. He doesn't ship through the mail. He does mostly wholesale, but he will do retail if you're in the area and you want to come by. He definitely has full stock of a lot of things that some people don't. So when you're in your search for fruit trees, you definitely want to call him. We're going to get started right now. We're going to meet Al and hear the backstory about this place, and then we're going to see some of his fruit trees and ask him questions. So here we go. All right, everybody, welcome to Fruitful Trees. Here we are. This is Al, and hello, Al.
Good morning.
And Al has Al's Fruit Trees here in Homestead, Florida. Al, how long has your property been here with selling these fruit trees?
We've been in business since 2010.
2010.
So we've got 12 years under our belt here, and all we do is fruit trees.
So how'd you get started? What made you get into this?
It really wasn't by initial design. I was a former banker at a credit union. They went under in 2009. I owned the land before that, so nobody wanted to hire anybody in their late 40s. So and the economy was rough, so I decided to start Al's Fruit Trees. And initially it was Al's Farmers Market selling fruit, but we shifted over to strictly selling fruit trees, and we've been doing that steadily and growing our business for the last 12 years.
Now, most of your business is wholesale, but you do some retail as well,
That's
right?
correct. We're open Monday through Friday from 8 to 4:30. And whether it's a wholesale customer or a retail customer, they're more than welcome to come by. We don't have a minimum order requirement to offer a tree. You don't have to buy 10 or 20 trees. You can buy one tree.
So in the years you've been doing this, how has the market shifted of selling trees?
Well, availability has been a big challenge. After COVID or during COVID, we saw that finding anything was a challenge, from trees to pots. Even fertilizer has been a challenge.
Has that changed now, or it's still a challenge?
Pots are finally getting better. Fertilizers finally getting better. We've seen a lot of price increases on all that material. It's probably doubled in the last 3 years as well. But we try to be as competitive as possible and still earn a decent living. And we try to have good quality trees in stock.
Now, as I'm traveling, I hear about this tree shortage, but everywhere I go, like your place and the other place I do videos, it seems like everyone's fully stocked.
Well, what you're not seeing is that we're having to buy trees much smaller than before, which means we have to spend 3 to 6 months just getting them to the size where we can actually pot them up. So it's really a question now of buying and hoarding material, whether it be trees or pots, so that we have it when it comes time to pot them up.
Okay, so how many acres is this property?
This is 5 acres.
5 acres.
And we're pretty much maxed out now.
Okay, you have some trees in the ground of your own personal ones, but the rest are in pots, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, you spoke about fertilizer. Do you sell fertilizer as well?
We do.
Any special one that you use? And that you sell?
We use a combination of 839 and a slow release fertilizer of 1868.
Now, is that per all your trees, or
all the trees get that?
Okay.
Yeah. And that's a base fertilizer we use for all our trees. And if we haven't sold the tree at a certain time of the year, we'll go ahead and refertilize that tree. We fertilize every 6 months.
Okay. What about the trees that are in pots that are growing pretty tall? Do you spray them?
We spray. Unfortunately, when you're in a commercial environment, there's very little you can do to minimize having a spray to keep the trees healthy and bug-free. And you have the environment, so you have water, sometimes too much water, and you can get fungus. Too little water, you get mites. So it's just the nature of the business.
You just have to learn.
You learn. It takes time. That's correct.
Great. So out of all the different varieties of fruit you sell, what fruit is the easiest to grow and up pot in a container from your experience, and what are the more challenging ones?
Challenging. Certain varieties of mango can be challenging. For example, the kit mango is a bit more challenging than some of your other mangoes. Very good tasting, late season, but it's a tree that doesn't want a lot of water, similar to the Julie mango. Doesn't want a lot of water, so you got to really restrict water usage on it.
What about easiest ones?
Easy. Avocados are pretty easy. Guavas, Jaboticaba is pretty easy. And Jaboticaba is a nice fruit that doesn't get too big. It's a unique tree that produces fruit on the bark itself.
And they do pretty well in pots.
They do well in pots. We can show you one that's got some fruit on it that you can try.
Great. Now, as we're going to start to see your trees, and I was driving here, I noticed on the other side of the fence here, I guess these are your neighbors.
That's my neighbor.
And this whole road, there's tons of farms of just bananas, right?
Yes, that's Oro Negro, also known as burro. And it's eating banana, but primarily used in cooking as a plantain.
So are these plantain farms that are near you here?
This is a plantain farm. He harvests the fruit and sells the fruit to a local company. They pack and ship.
Now, from my experience with bananas, they're a pain in the butt. So after they give off their rack, you cut them.
That's correct.
But over this fence, because this is a big fence, do they ever come on your side?
They do. Occasionally, there's about a 5-foot gap, but over the years, they will cross over if you're not careful. And then we have to remove them because it's just, we don't need that in our property.
Sure.
They cause shade, damage. So we do have to keep them maintained away. Yep.
Yes. Do you sell bananas here in general?
We do sell bananas. We recently just put in a whole bunch of ice cream banana. That's a newer variety, the blue Java, that a lot of people ask for.
Yeah. Okay, well, the first thing is, besides all the amazing trees you have in pots, and by the way, I want to talk about this tree here in the ground, but this tree, the trees you have in pots, I see you're using not plastic pots, but you're using grow bags.
Right.
So tell us a little about this. What size is that?
This is a 25-gallon grow bag here.
Okay.
And we initially started, well, up until about 2 years ago, everything was in plastic pots here. And as I had mentioned earlier, due to the pandemic, we had a shortage of plastic pots. So we tried grow bags, and there's a few other places that have used grow bags. So we tried them, and we found that the mangoes in particular tend to grow better in the grow bag. They drain the water better, and mangoes don't need a lot of water. So we're having good results with it. It's hard to recycle the bag after you use the tree, so you have to basically cut it. You can't recycle like you would plastic, but the trees do grow better, and we do now use them for all our trees, 7-gallon and up to 45-gallon.
Are they easy to move, the grow bags?
Once
they have handles.
We have handles, and when they first start out, they're very heavy, and if you're not careful, you'll do like this, rip the handle. They're a little harder to work with, but we do think it's a better approach for growing the mangoes, at least with the soil mix that we're using here.
And what's that on top of the grow bag there?
This is a weed barrier, and it's a good product that we found online, and we've been using it now for about 4 years, and it really does make a big difference. If you look at this tree here, the only weeds growing are where the slit is, right here. Otherwise, it's pretty weed free. And
now, would that be good to use in the ground trees as well? Or?
You could use that in the ground to keep the weed whacker away. That would actually be pretty good. And the water drains right through. It's got great porosity. It's got a life of maybe 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
And you have to put pins in them because down here, without a pin, the wind will start blowing them away.
Okay. And tell us how you're watering your trees there in the park.
We're doing
off a well.
We have a well. We have poly hose, and we have in different areas we have different systems. So this is a little poly tube, and this color emits 4 gallons a minute. I'm sorry, 4 gallons an hour.
4 gallons an hour.
4 gallons an hour. That's more like it. And this, for example, is a little dripper, and this would be this dripper here would be a half a gallon an hour. So
Okay.
certain trees have certain requirements, and we adjust accordingly.
Wonderful. And you said the sizes. These are 25 gallons. What size trees do you normally sell here?
Our primary market that we grow trees for is 7-gallon, 15-gallon, 25-gallon, 45. We do a little 65 and 100-gallon, but primarily it's in that 7 to 45-gallon range.
Okay.
And when a customer comes here, they can select a tree right from here. We load it in their car or their truck, and they go about their business.
Nice. With the grow bags, do the roots ever go into the ground where it's...
We have not had that problem at all. Typically, the trees, this tree was a 3-gallon tree that we put in here, and it'll probably be for sale in about a year from now. This variety is Venus. It's a good late season variety.
Do the grow bags help control root bound or not?
They help control root bound, drainage, and it's just, we're finding that the trees grow much quicker as a result of the grow bag. Yeah, so we're a big proponent of it. And you know, any manufacturer, just get one that drains well is the key part. You don't want to hold water.
And if you can get it out of there without ripping the bag, can you reuse the bag?
You can. The way you would do it is you'd put something underneath the center, and then you just roll this all around. We've done it. It takes a little bit of time and patience, but you can recycle. We've been able to do that effectively. But a customer that buys a tree, they're probably just going to cut it here, pull out the bag, and plant it.
And what kind of potting soil do you use for all these?
We use a custom mix from Atlas peat.
Okay.
Yep, up in Palm Beach.
Yep.
They provided a lot of soil. We've been using Atlas since inception, so 12 years with Atlas, and good results. Yep.
Wow. So now I see you have some trees in the ground here.
Right. Originally, before I started the business in 2010, this was primarily we had planted an avocado grove, and I had a couple personal trees here. This is one of those original.
Well, what was your goal with the avocado grove?
Back when I was a suit and tie man, the avocados was an easy way to get ag exemption and provide some business, if you will. And avocados were an easy tree to grow, easy tree to maintain. So that's what this was, an avocado grove.
So on these 5 acres, how many avocado trees did you say you had?
We had about close to 400 trees.
Wow.
Yeah.
What varieties mainly?
We had a lot of early. We had Donnie and Simmons. We had a few Pollock, a few Russell, and then quite a bit of Choquette. And for the B variety, we had, I'm trying to think here. I'll remember what we had for a B, but we do encourage, if you're going to have a grove, to mix the A's and the B's.
Sure.
And you get a higher yield as a result.
Okay, so which avocado tree was this? And
well, this is a sapodilla here.
This one's a sapodilla. So within the avocado grove, you had some other fruits as well?
Yeah, we did. We had a couple Mamey and a couple of sapodilla. This is a sapodilla here.
Do you know what kind?
This is Tikal.
Tikal sapodilla. So this is the one you put in when you had your avocado grove? That's
correct. I put this in, and here's
Well, on this one, have you trimmed it over the years? Or
yes, this has been pruned a few times. It's been maybe another 10 feet higher than this.
Okay, so for sapodillas, is Tikal one you recommend?
I like actually Hasya a lot. Hasya, Mullix. There's some new varieties out there, but Hasya is a good variety. Morena, Mackhawk.
Okay, so those are all nice varieties.
They are.
Would you give Tikal a thumbs up, or would you shy people away from it?
I'd probably shy away. This one happens to produce a lot, but according to some of the other websites, they say that there's some others that actually produce even larger fruit.
Okay.
And people tend to like the larger fruit.
And I know you sell Butterscotch, which is a new hot one that people want to get.
It's a new hot variety that Zill came out with that we do have.
Great.
Yeah.
Now this tree here is interesting. This is a Mamey tree, it looks like.
That's correct.
And there's Mamey on there right now. What variety of Mamey is this?
This is Magana.
Magana. How old is this tree?
This tree's a little over 20 years old, about 22 years old.
20 years. You must have pruned it because
Yeah,
they grow much bigger.
This has actually been pruned. It's been root pruned as well, so that one day it'll actually leave the nursery. And it's very prolific, as you can see here.
So can you successfully root prune a 20-year-old Mamey tree and move it successfully?
This tree is really completely separated. There's nothing holding this tree other than its weight on the ground.
Really?
Yep.
How long has it been root pruned right now for?
It's been root pruned for over a year.
Wow. So what made you decide, hey, I got to get rid of this tree?
You know, we're out of space, 5 acres, we're out of space. So at this point, we're looking at finding a new home for it. It's a great tree. It produces really nice fruit, as you can see. And we, as you know, with Mamey, we've talked about, you've got to scratch it to know when it's ready to eat. It's going to have a nice color to it when it is ready. Still needs a little bit more, but it's getting there. You can see the color.
Yeah. So this tree, if you did take it out, you'd have to cut it way back, or no?
We'd probably cut it a little bit further back just so that it can go down the road.
Have you moved other trees this big?
We have taken out something a little bit smaller than this, and they do go through a shock period. So before this actually leaves, we would want to prune it hard again so that any shock occurs while it's still here, and then it could go out. But it is a challenge to transplant fruit trees.
Okay,
we don't recommend it.
Is a challenge, not recommended, but possible.
But possible.
And anyone looking for an amazing Plantain Key West avocado, definitely contact Al, because this one eventually will be one that's going to go.
Yep.
And so when you planted your grove, how many Mamey trees did you plant?
We had about a dozen Mamey trees at one point, and they were further down this main road here, which is why they had to go, because we needed the room just so we could move in and out of the nursery. This one was somewhat out of the way, so it survived the move for now. But at some point, it's providing a lot of shade for the trees, and it's really something that we need to get out of here at some point.
So how big were your avocado trees when you took them out?
They were this size. Avocados grow pretty quick, so they were all 20-footers that were, they were 12 years old at the time.
And you transferred all of those, sold all
No.
of those? Okay, so what did you do with those?
Those ended up getting backhoed, removed. It's not cost effective. Avocado trees grow pretty quick, so we didn't even contemplate root pruning those. So a lot of work.
Okay. Alrighty. So what other trees do you have in the ground here?
We've got quite a bit of Carambola, a couple different varieties that we'll take you to. Right back here is actually a hog plum.
Okay.
And this is a yellow variety. At this time of year, with the cold weather, they lose all their leaves. And probably in another month or two, well, you can see there's 1 or 2 pieces of fruit right now.
Yeah.
But in a few months, you'll see it full of flowers, full of yellow fruit, and nice sweet fruit.
Okay.
And I'll show you we've got a few mango as well in the ground.
Okay, so while we're in this area, you have a 5-acre plum. So these are all different types of mangoes here.
Mm-hmm.
What is the most common, not the most common, the most unique mangoes that you offer for sale?
Well, some of the ones that are a little less common, we have Mahashanuk, Kak, Orange Sherbet is a very popular variety. Pickering is a nice small dwarf variety. We recommend if somebody wants a small tree, the Pickering would be a good variety. It grows a lot better and a lot easier in South Florida than the Julie, for example.
Do you mangoes that you're growing in pots get fruit?
They can fruit fairly well. You're not going to get a huge production off of potted mango, but you can get them to fruit. The Kerry mango will do very well in the pot for quite a while. The Pickering we feel is one of the best dwarf varieties for container. It does much better than the Julie mango in South Florida.
Great. Now, when you set up your farm, is there a particular reason, any advantage that you have all these mangoes in this area and something in another area, or did you just say that looks like a good space, or is there a particular reason why you're putting them in these areas?
What we've tried to do, and we've moved things around over time, is that we try to isolate the mangoes in one area, or at least in different areas, but all in the same section, so that we can control water. Water is really the big thing that we want to control. So this is on a poly hose for irrigation. In other areas, for example, lychees, guava trees, and some of the other type of trees, we'll throw those with overhead. It's a quick way of watering trees that you don't have to worry about the poly hose getting clogged up.
I know most of your trees here are in pots, and I always ask people what problem people have when they're in the ground with critters and things like this. But considering most of your things in pots, any problems with critters at all?
The only critters that we have a problem with are my two dogs.
Okay.
They chase lizards, and when there's a lizard near a pot, one of those dogs will rip a bag if need be, or a plastic pot to get at that lizard.
And what about diseases on these smaller mangoes? Any issues with the bacterial black spot or any other diseases?
You know, we do have to just keep an eye on them. You know, in the wintertime, when it's dry, you got to keep an eye on mites. And that's just a problem that avocados have, mangoes have. In the rainy season, it's fungus. So, you know, the smaller the tree, you just got to keep an eye that you control these things before they get out of control.
All right, great. Okay, so here's another part of Al's fruit trees, and this is more trees that are in the ground. This looks like Carambola, so it looks like it. Wow, look how loaded it is. So you have different varieties here, right?
That's correct.
What variety is this?
This is Sri Kembang.
May I try one?
Yep.
All right. So there's now what do you find the best variety for yourself?
I like Sri Kembang, and I like Kerry. Those are the two I like. How is that?
So I have a Kerry, and this.
No, you have a Sri Kembang. Which you like better?
No, I in my hand I have a Sri Kembang, but I have a Kerry at home.
Okay.
And after tasting this, they taste exactly the same.
Juicy and sweet, right? Yeah, and very prolific. One tree does a lot. Yeah, this is a Kerry here. This is a Fontong. Fontong is very distinctive because it's a large fruit.
A lighter color.
Lighter color.
I know that.
Yeah.
And same season?
Yeah, almost year round. Right. Very large fruit.
I've had this before. It does taste different.
A little
different, taste different, but same season.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, out of every fruit tree here in South Florida, this probably is the most producing fruit tree.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
It's almost year round. You don't have to do anything to it. It's bulletproof, what I say. So yeah, if you know, you asked earlier what's probably the easiest fruit tree to grow and produce a lot of fruit in a container would probably be the Carambola.
In a container, wow.
In a container, a 7-gallon will start producing fruit.
And can it stay in a container?
You can keep it in a container a long time. Yeah.
And you must prune these, because these grow big, these trees. So
they don't get that big. These, believe it or not, have not been pruned.
Really? How old are they?
They're probably about 10 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, because I've seen some humongous stuff.
Yeah, these guys, I mean, maybe for whatever reason, they haven't grown huge and very prolific. Very prolific. But yeah, we have Arkin, Fontong, Kerry.
Is there anything on the Arkin?
They're there. They're just... Oh, here we go.
So that tree's 10 years old.
Let's see. You can see if... Oh, bite on that end. See if you can...
Okay, that's an Arkin.
Yeah. If you can taste the difference.
A little.
A little.
A little.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good sweet fruit.
It's nice.
Yeah.
I would say a little less sweeter than the other two.
Yeah.
But not much.
Right. This is a Carrie, which you said you have at your
Yes.
place. And this is a Laura. Comes from Laura Farm.
Oh, okay. Laura Farms. How many varieties of star fruit do you have? Just the ones you mentioned here?
The ones you see here.
That's nice.
There are other varieties available, but typically most people don't even ask for a variety of Carambola. They just say, I want a Carambola tree. So they're not too picky. And there are the Asian people tend to prefer the sour varieties, and we don't typically carry that.
So the ones I have here in my hand are, tell me again.
This is Fontan.
Fontan.
And this, I think, was off of this tree?
Yeah.
Sri Kembang.
Sri Kembang. And the Sri Kembang is like the Kerry. This Fontan is a different variety. So if you're going to get two, at least get one of these two kind or similar. They're both
fruit,
excellent. They're both excellent.
Very juicy. And if you like alcohol, you can juice them and have a little vodka with it.
I actually juice these. I don't make alcohol, but I juice these with beet juice and celery juice, and they make like a fruit punch. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And now they do say that if you have problems with your kidneys, you can't eat too much of them because they have a lot of vitamin K.
So is that the reason, vitamin K? Because I heard that, but I never knew the reason. So is it vitamin K?
It's got a lot of vitamin K in it, and it would work your kidneys a little too much if you have an issue with your kidneys.
And then here's the question: is what's too much?
Well,
they say you got to ask they who say it, right?
Moderation is the key. You know, if you have a few, 2 or 3, I don't think you're going to have a problem. But if you have kidney problems, you just have to keep that in mind.
Yeah. No, excellent fruit. I highly recommend people. This was definitely a good fruit tree to have. And you sell them here, right?
We do. We do.
How do they sell, people?
People usually get them, and they're all grafted. So, I mean, like I said, a 7-gallon Carambola will already have fruit on it.
Wonderful.
It's that easy. Yeah.
All right, let's see some more trees you have in the ground.
Sure.
So there's a Jaboticaba.
Right.
This is a Sabra?
That's correct. That is correct. Yep.
And what size pot is that?
This is 65 or 100. Looks like a 65, maybe 100 gallon.
Wow. And how long have you had this tree here?
I've had this tree here probably 5 years. And the fruit, as you can see right there, that's what you're looking for, the harvest.
Yeah, and when did you get this? How tall was it, this tree?
This tree was probably about half the size.
Nice.
It's got a nice spread on it. You can start to see how it's...
Now, this tree grows really slow, but it is a really big tree if you let it grow.
Correct. I've seen pictures of these things in the 30-foot range.
Can that stay in a pot indefinitely if you keep it trimmed?
It can stay in the pot for a few more years, for sure. And if you left it in a pot, it probably at some point go through the pot and in the ground. They don't have a very aggressive root system, though. That's the good news with Jaboticaba.
Which is another good question. So I have a small property, and I waste a lot of room by not planting on my drain field. You say this doesn't have an aggressive root system. Do you have any experience with not planting their drain fields? Like, is this one you can plant closer than one that does have it, or does it not make a difference?
I think you could probably get away with something like this close to a drain field. Some other trees that don't have big root systems would be June plum, which is a tree like that. That's a June plum right there.
I know a
lot of the Annonas don't have
Annonas, yeah, right. Custard apples and sugar.
Well, the
apples.
custard, we're going to go look at a custard apple, and I would shy away from putting a custard apple.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'm going to show you why.
Good.
This is Choquette here.
Oh, a Choquette. We're going to look at your avocado soon, but there's a Choquette in a container.
Yeah, full of fruit.
Full of fruit. What size container is that?
This is another 65-gallon, but you'll get them with fruit even in a 15-gallon. I've seen them in 7-gallon with fruit. Choquette fruits up pretty easy.
Nice, nice. Okay, so we're going to go to the custard apple.
I'm going to go to the custard and show you the custard. This is from the grove. This hadn't been removed yet. This is an old Donny there.
An old Donny. What's your opinion of Donny?
Donny is actually a really good fruit if you leave it on the tree beyond the normal pick period. They pick Donnie way too early. They're picking Donnie in June, July.
Well, they promote it as an early tree.
Well, they promote it as an early tree, and the Avocado Council allows the fruit to be harvested early in the season. But the taste of an avocado, Donnie avocado specifically, is best later, August, even in September.
Yeah, I don't like the Donnies because I've always had it early.
Right, and it's watery.
Yeah.
You leave a Donnie on the tree till August, and you tell me if you still think it's not a good fruit.
But there's no advantage to having the tree if you leave it in August because...
Then you can have Simmons.
Yeah, yeah. There you go.
This is why I don't recommend putting a custard apple
Wow.
in a drain field.
Wow.
This is a custard. Here's some fruit actually, Paul. Take a look.
Wow.
They're still small right now, but
there you go. Now, what kind of...
this is a seedling custard apple.
A seedling. Now, custard apples are close to true to seed, right?
They are. They are. And this tree produces quite a bit of fruit.
How old is this tree?
This tree is probably about 12 years old. And it's been pruned. So this is why I wouldn't put this over a drain field. This is too big a tree to have on a drain field, in my opinion.
But now the Jaboticaba, they grow just as big, and the June plug looks like they grow tall.
But much slower. But much slower.
But eventually you're going to have a drain field problem as well. Or when you say the roots aren't aggressive, does that determine the size? Or can you have a big tree that the roots are not aggressive?
I wouldn't put too big a tree, but for a Jaboticaba to get to be this size is not a 12-year time frame. It's probably a 30 or 40 year.
And by that time you need a new drain field anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
But this is too big a tree, in my opinion, to be sitting on a drain field.
So tell us about the custard apples you've tasted and the ones you have here on your property. So this one's one in the ground. This was here when you got here?
No, we put this in the ground a few years after I had the avocados planted.
Okay.
And at the time it was obviously a little seedling, but now it's become a big tree. So some trees that need a little bit more shade, we can put them here. For example, this area here, we had some abiu before the cold weather came by. So it provides a nice area for shade.
So what's your opinion of this seedling custard apple versus the taste of other ones?
I think if you can, you get a grafted variety, like a San Pablo. It's something that you know is tried, tested. Not that seedlings are bad, but if you have a preference, I think that's the way to do it.
Now, one of the issues with custard apples is a lot of people got to bag them because they get a beetle, or not a beetle, but some kind of a bug that gets inside them.
They get a wasp.
A wasp.
Right, and that wasp is similar to what attacks the sugar apple.
Yeah, so now this tree is kind of too big to bag.
It is. And some years we'll have a big problem with wasps and we won't get any harvest. And other years, there's no problem. But that's true. It's something that is a problem. And if you spray insecticides, if you want to go organic, you can go with neem oil or some type of thin oil, and that'll keep some of the problem at bay.
So it's a questionable tree based on that. So would you, let's say you had your own house and this was one of the only, let's say, 3 trees you had, would you get up there with a ladder and bag them if you were that diligent, or would it be too much work on a big tree like this?
It'd be a lot of work. I'd probably go with the sugar apple.
Why, because the tree's much smaller?
The sugar apple's a much smaller tree, and if you did want to bag, it'd be an easy endeavor.
Now, could you keep this tree smaller if you keep it pruned back from the time it starts growing? You let it grow this tall, but could you have kept this one smaller?
We have pruned it before, and you can see up here where it's been pruned before.
Uh-huh.
It does want to get up there. Like I said, this is not, in the Annona family, this is a larger tree than even the soursop, the guanabana. So between them all, I'd probably go, I personally like a sugar apple or an atamoya, which are delicious fruit.
Yeah.
You know, this just It's a big tree, and you have to have the space for a big tree.
Good idea. Okay. What about watering the custard apple?
Custard apple is an Annona, and most of the Annonas don't require a lot of water. They're on the light side, and they tend to be in a cold winter. They're going to lose their leaves, so that's something to keep in mind when they do lose leaves. Cut back on the water so you don't rot the roots. The only Annona that's going to want some water is a Rollinia, and that one likes more water than most of the other sugar apples and soursop.
Do you have Rollinia here?
We do.
And how do they do?
They tend to be a bit shy to bear fruit, but we do have them. They're more aggressive grower for sure.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. And besides selling these, do you have any others of these in the ground?
No, not of this.
Okay.
What we have, well, right now we have, this is the Balimbi, and did not like the cold weather. You familiar with Balimbi?
Yes, yes.
It's in the Carambola family.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It is, yep.
Now these are very sour, right?
Extremely sour. Not for the faint at heart. Some people I've talked to will pickle them and put them in a salad as pickled Balimbi.
Now I haven't had these with the miracle fruit yet. Have you tried that?
And let me see if we have a miracle fruit. It actually makes it edible.
Yeah, miracle fruits take things that are sour and makes them sweet.
Yeah, I may have another miracle fruit that's got some fruit on it, but without it, it's tough to bear. Let's see here. I may have to.
So there's another Balimbi in the ground here?
Yep, there's another Balimbi in
So now let me ask you, of all the trees to put in the ground, even when you had your avocado grove, why Balimbis?
This actually was post-avocado grove, and I can't even remember why we were putting these in the ground. This one's probably going to come out this year. Now, what we do like in the ground...
Is that a breadfruit?
Breadfruit.
Breadfruit in the ground here, everybody, in South Florida.
Yeah.
So, now, do these fruit well?
They do fruit well. We use these as mother trees, and they have all fruited. And we propagate off of these.
Do you think it's too cold up north, even in West Palm, to do breadfruit?
Well, you can see we had 40 degrees here with a strong wind, and this is the damage. Balimbi for sure. The Balimbis did not take well to the cold, but it's on the edge. I think you can get away. It's going to have some burning of the leaves. You can see another tree here.
Now, what family was the breadfruit? Jackfruit?
It's in the jackfruit family, correct. Here's another one that was a little bit more protected. And you can see it didn't have any damage. So, just a little pullback from the direct impact of the cold. And you can see.
Now, do you lay fertilizer down?
We do. This is really a very pretty tree in general. If you're not familiar with the breadfruit, it's produces a lot of fruit. In a lot of countries, it's a big staple diet.
Now, when you put the fertilizer down, I was told it's better to put it in
the drip
not
line.
Against the bark or near the bark, but in the drip line, which would go out towards the outer edge of the tree.
That is correct, because that's where the roots are going to be. The feeder roots are all going to be around that drip line.
Is that the same thing for mulching as well?
Well, the mulching does two things. The mulching is providing a weed barrier. It also helps hold moisture. And the other thing I find that's good with mulching is it keeps your lawn people from whacking the trunk, which is very deadly for a tree. So you don't have to go as far as the drip line to mulch, but I would at least go 2 or 3 feet. The bigger the tree, you're not going to have a lot of grass anyway, so you might as well mulch it.
Got you.
But beautiful tree, the breadfruit.
Do you ever use horse manure or cow manure to mulch?
I have used it. The key on the horse manure is it has to settle. It needs time to cool off. If you use that stuff within first 6 months, you run the risk of burning the root system, because there's a lot of organic activity going on, the breakdown of that manure, and I never will let anybody. I don't recommend anybody put any manure right up on a tree immediately. Leave it in a pile. Leave it 6 months, a year, and that's great to use afterwards.
And your trees that are in the ground, what do you do with the fruit?
Usually we give it away. In most cases, the Carambola, when a customer comes, we usually let them have the Carambola because, as you can see, they were falling down.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we don't have that many trees. We have a few mango trees left in the ground. Those two there are Valencia Pride.
So when you planted those, you planted 2 of the same tree?
Yeah, we did. And you can see how comparatively that grows. Here's a cherry mango. And the cherry just grows so much different compared to the Valencia Pride. That Valencia has been pruned.
Now, what was your goal for planting 2 of the same variety?
It was just to have a tree there. You know, we had a couple. I've got a Glen at the end, a Hayden, and then we've actually contemplated root pruning 1 or both of these and selling them because there are people that want big trees.
Yeah.
They're great producers. Valencia's a great mango, grows fast, great shade tree as well. No fiber on the fruit. It's really a good mango. Hayden's been around forever.
You ever personally have an idea of grafting different varieties onto a tree? Or
a
something?
lot of people do. I personally don't do any grafting, but I know of an individual down in Homestead that has probably 150 varieties on 1 mango tree.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you got to introduce me to them so I could have them on the show.
I will. His name is Daniel. I'll get you his information.
What's his last name?
He's Cuban by descent. I'll have to find out. I don't know.
Okay,
You know who he is?
I might.
Julian's very good friends with him.
Okay. I'll have to.
Yeah.
Okay. So here between your trees it says a white Mamey.
White Ilama.
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 Not for sale.
Yeah. This is a tree that it's in the Annona family.
A collector's edition.
Yeah, this is a collector's edition. That's correct.
Wow.
And hard to find the Ilama in general.
Yeah.
And this is a white. I just pulled these off. These are suckers from the seedling. Here's the graft right here.
Did you graft this one?
A former worker of ours that worked here did that. His name is Willie. Owns an airboat company. And if you ever need an airboat, Willie's your man.
Wow.
He's a fruit tree collector as well. And he went ahead and grafted that for us.
Maybe we can visit his property too.
Yeah, Willie's a collector.
So now, what about persimmon? Tell us about persimmons.
Persimmons, right now I don't have any. That's one of those trees that this year has been very hard to find. Years past you could find them. Been looking for persimmons for over a year. Nobody's got them for sale. What
variety grows the best out here?
The South Florida variety is the one that a lot of people know by name. I'm trying to think.
Now, there's one called the Triumph, right?
The Triumph is synonymous with the South Florida variety.
Some people say it's the same thing. Some people say it's different.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing.
Okay.
Zill called it South Florida, and a lot of other people.
Any other varieties down here? Or
that aren't, the other varieties I have not heard are going to do much here.
What about Jujubes? What's your experience with that?
Jujube do real well. We'll show you some Jujube. Now, we've got in containers. They're doing very well. Actually, well, let's go. We've got some right here, actually.
Okay. Now, can they stay in a container?
They can stay in the container quite a bit. And these are really, you'll try that. It tastes like a crunchy apple.
Yeah. So this is with the thornless tie version?
This is a thornless tie. And if you look over here, these are grafted.
Okay.
And this is the thorny rootstock. So if you notice, look at that thorn there. And yet The grafted part has no thorns.
Well, from my experience, even the grafted part gets small thorns.
They get
but no,
small.
Yeah.
Right, but nothing.
Yeah.
Isn't that a crunchy? It's a crunchy little apple, and they grow very easy.
But they can stay in the pot.
They can stay in the pot. Fire.
But they will grow tall if you let them.
They will get. They grow on the kind of wild.
Now I want to ask you. We passed the coconut tree, and when I was at Dustin's, he had these coconuts, the dwarf, super dwarf coconuts.
Dwarf.
Do you know about those or much about them?
I know Dustin's been getting those. We typically refer customers over to Dustin for the coconuts.
Right.
There's more Jujube right there.
More. Anybody looking for Jujube, now you know where they are because they're not easy to find sometimes. All right. Now, tell us how unique your avocados. How unique do you get with those? Because I know there are some places down here, like Laura Farm, that have a really unique section of avocados, and most nurseries have the common ones. So what
Julian has a pretty large selection of it. We have the common varieties. We have the Donny, the Simmons, the Catalina, Monroe, Choquette, Russell, Oro Negro, Super Haas, or Ulala. And that's typically, we'll have maybe some Day, some Lula, but the bulk of our clientele are either planting a large section of avocados, so they'll want the Simmons or the Donnies.
So what's your opinion about the Day avocado, the taste of it? Have you tried it?
I have had it. It's not a bad. It produces pretty well, but it's a small fruit. And a lot of people that are going to go with the small fruit typically want the Haas. And in that case, since we find that the Ulala does pretty well.
Now with the Ulala, a lot of people have, at least my tree, unripens unevenly.
That is a problem, or sometimes it'll get soft. It'll get soft on one spot before the other.
Yeah.
Now the Oro Negro doesn't have that problem.
Oro Negro is excellent. Now, is that an alternate bearer though? Because I know some people, like some years they're loaded and some years they're not.
We haven't seen that, and the tree tends to grow a lot shorter and smaller. The Oro Negro, the Ulala tends to be a taller growing tree in general.
Okay, so what about Choquette and Monroe? I know
Choquette and Monroe are very similar. The Choquette's late season, and the Monroe's even later.
So the Monroe's later than Choquette.
That's correct. And I typically like to leave the fruit on the tree longer than you'll see. Sometimes they'll say, for example, Donny can be picked in June or July, and I prefer to wait till August if you can, or even if the tree will hold out till September. The fruit quality is so much better. Even on Choquette, instead of picking October, December, January, February, March, or April, if you can get them to March, much creamier taste to them.
Have you tried Miguel?
I used to have Miguel at the nursery. That was my V variety.
Okay.
I had them for a while, and I had Loretta was the other B. Loretta's a big, big avocado.
So why don't you have those two anymore?
Not a big demand for. I don't particularly think the Loretta is a good quality. It's too watery, even when it's fully ripened.
Did you like the taste of the Miguel?
Miguel's much better than the Loretta.
So, from all of your avocados, not just from what you have, from what you've tasted, early, mid, and late season, what are your top two varieties? If somebody had room and they wanted 6 avocados, 2 for each season, what would you recommend based on taste?
Sure. Early, Donny Simmons. Nice. And leaving the Donny later than normal. Very good quality. Mid, I'm leaning toward mid being like a Catalina. I think Catalina is a superb avocado. And you can probably even get an Oro Negro in there as a mid to mid-late. And then I think Choquette, I like Choquette late season.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's amazing how subjective taste is.
It's all, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like mango.
What are your top 3 mangoes?
Glen. I like Venus because it's late season. And you know, I'd probably even go. I'm trying to think here. Maybe Pickering.
Pickering.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
So you got any other more trees in the ground, or?
We just have the mangoes in the ground, and they're not fruiting right now. But
The mangoes.
you know, the stuff doesn't. I mean, you can see all the flowers on the guavas. The guavas fruit up easy, and they do well in container, and they can be pruned hard every year.
Now they get worms though, don't they? A lot of them.
Yes, that is something. And what we find here's a guava. Look at all the fruit on this guava tree. Now, what we find on guavas is that some people, and the bees love guavas as well. You can see, here's a bee right here.
Yeah.
Hopefully I don't get stung. And another tree that the bees love, if you're into bees, is the strawberry tree. They love the strawberry tree. But the guava, some areas are more prone to the fruit fly than others. Here we don't have a big problem with the fruit fly. But guavas tend to have other issues like the white fly. It's just a problem.
I see.
But it's a great, nutritious fruit.
Now, we just had a cold spell here in South Florida, and I see all of these trees, the leaves look like they're burned. What are these trees?
This is Barbados. What happened on these is we had them out. They didn't get some water. These were, we had just picked these up from another nursery in 7-gallon. And they just, it was a timing issue, but normally they don't get affected by the cold weather. This just happened to be, I think, more of a lack of water for a few days. So the good news, they'll flush out again in a week or two.
Okay, well, this is a great trip, and I'm really excited that you said you did cut back that custard apple?
I did. That's the third time it's been pruned. It's a monster tree.
Great. I'm glad I know that because I thought there were smaller trees like the sugar apples.
Yeah. You can see it's 2 and 3 times the size of a sugar apple.
And what about, tell us about star apples.
The star apple?
Camito.
Yeah, Camito. We have them.
Do you have just the simple grafted purple and green, or do you have some of the name ones? Like
No. Ours are just grafted purple and green. We don't have any name cultivars on ours. And they're here. They're pretty.
How do they do?
They're a hardy tree. We just prune them a little bit just to give them a little bit of shape. And you can see them here. This is a cousin to the satin leaf, which is the small kind.
Which is what? The small?
You know, according to some of my customers in Cuba, when they were poor, they didn't have money for chewing gum, and they used the satin leaf, the little caimitillos they call them, and that was their chewing gum. So, but these are a beautiful tree. They grow very well. They really don't get any disease to speak of.
So what size is that?
This is a 15-gallon.
So how much would that go for?
This tree goes for $115.
Okay. That's a good price for that size tree.
Yep.
All right, so there's another fruit that we haven't spoke about, and before we do, I'm just realizing these are in sitting water. Is that fine with it?
It's not, I mean, it's not a problem for those guys.
Okay, so another fruit that definitely everyone's interested in is jackfruit.
Jackfruit.
Tell us about your jackfruit.
We have a few varieties. Let's see what variety this is here. This is a J31, and this is a good crunchy jackfruit, and it's in a 15-gallon pot right here, and it's a very nice fruit. A lot of people like crunchy, and this would be one of those that are crunchy.
Do you have experience with growing them in pots versus in the ground?
In the ground, we don't grow any in the ground anymore. But from my experiences, they tend to get a lot wider in the ground, and they'll still get to be a pretty tall tree.
What about seedlings on a jackfruit? Are they more true to seed than than other fruits that you know of?
I don't think so. And believe it or not, they will fruit sometimes faster as a seedling than
That's
a
what I
graft.
heard. That's what I heard.
We have cases where we have a seedling that's producing fruit and the grafted tree is not yet.
Right.
But, you know what? By getting a grafted tree, you know exactly what you're getting.
Yes.
Versus a seedling.
Now, longans and lychees, are those common these days, or are they becoming less popular because of the mite? Yeah.
We still have, this is a lychee here, and it's still popular, but right now we're having to take care of that. We're having to treat it for mite every month. Longan, we have not had that problem with longans as of yet. They say they can jump the mite from a lychee to a longan, but we have not experienced that at this point. So we do still have lychee. We grow them into larger sizes. Let me see if we have some longan. There's bananas. This is the, we'll soon have Loquat, and you can see we do several varieties of Loquat. We've got Bradenton, Yehuda, Sherry, and they fruit very well in a container as well. You don't need to come in here, but
okay.
These are, you can tell the difference. This is a seedling jackfruit.
So why would you have a seedling in a pot?
Well, some people don't care whether it's a graft or a seedling.
Oh, really? So if somebody says they don't care, you say, okay, take the seedling.
It's cheaper.
Yeah. Oh, it is cheaper.
It
okay.
is cheaper. Yeah.
Do you know what that's a seedling of? No.
Seedling of a fruit we ate.
Yeah.
And these are Kohala.
Okay.
Most of the longan we sell is Kohala. Sometimes we'll have the BQ, but predominantly it's going to be Kohala.
So here's his sapodillas, and there are many common sapodillas, but what I see here is Al has the biggest selection from my experience of place I went in Butterscotch sapodilla. I don't know how he's gotten them, but now everybody, you know where they all are. So tell us, how many butterscotch trees do you have here for sale, and where do you get all these?
We were able to get these from a local nursery. I won't disclose, but we do have some other varieties in stock that are a little further along. This is a Lano.
That's an excellent variety.
It is, and we have some others. Those are in 15-gallon grow bags, and we will have later. It'll probably be a year, maybe a year and a half, but we will have 25-gallon butterscotch available. You can see we did a good section here, and I think we have another section. So we should have probably over 50 butterscotch available in 25 gallons.
Have you tasted the butterscotch?
We have. It's a large fruit, very tasty. I don't know how they came up with it, but it's a really good variety.
Is there any variety you like just as much? Or are they just, the other ones just different but still as good? Or are these the best of the best?
These are really good. I think if you like Sapodilla, the only ones I particularly don't care for are the grainy varieties, the OX. That's the only variety I just don't even carry here. But whether it be Silas Wood, Alano, Molex, Macaque, Morena, they're all really good tasting varieties, and I don't think you can go wrong. But we will have butterscotch available later this year and into the following year.
Now I got a question. A couple of years ago, you couldn't find an Alano. I mean, somebody came, I heard, that opened up a big grove and bought thousands of these trees. Now, considering how many butterscotch you have, it looks like you're going to have the best selection here in a couple of years, and you even do now. If somebody said, I want to buy all 50, and they're willing to pay, do you say, here's your receipt, or do you say, well, I got to think of my other customers?
Usually we got to think of our other customers. The problem when you lock in a large order with one customer is I believe you disenfranchise all your loyal customers, and we do have a lot of customers that have bought us for many, many years. So I don't really like to sell out everything to one customer. They can have some, but not all of them. And even our best customers will give some, but we try to allot it out to several customers. It's just I think, the right thing to do.
Wonderful. That's great. Well, thank you so much. And
Let me just here. Look at these carambolas in a pot. Remember I told you how prolific they are?
wow, yeah, here's a star fruit in the pot. Look at that.
I mean, this is Fontong, and you can see in the pot they will give you a lot of fruit, and there's a lot of varieties. Look at the bunch over here,
Wow,
Paul.
yeah, it's an amazing.
So, Carambola in the pot or in the ground is going to give you a lot of fruit.
It's a great tree to have.
It's a great tree. It's not high maintenance. It'd be one that if you like the fruit, for either fruit or juice, it's, to me, a no-brainer to have one.
So, are there any diseases on the carambola or not that you know?
Nothing that I'm aware of.
I got a question about your custard apple.
Okay.
So my house, I have a small house. I have no more room for trees, and I'm just learning now about how much bigger they are. Do you think, do they fall? Would that be a good tree to plant in front of the house on a busy street where people might not be inclined to know what they are and take them, or you got to pick them at the right time? I mean, is that a good candidate for the front of the house?
When they fall, they're ripe. You can pick them off before. The only thing you have to keep in mind is if it gets really cold, it's going to lose their leaves.
That's true. Okay.
So it probably wouldn't be a tree I'd put in my front lawn unless you don't mind a deciduous tree. Got you.
Okay. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
All righty. But they don't fall off the tree when...
They'll fall off when they're ripe.
They will. Okay.
Yeah. And the key is to really get them off before they fall, because when they fall, they usually...
And how do you know when those are ripe?
There's a little bit of give to them, and you can, as you start learning your trees, you'll see that it's either a little softer, or you may have a case where the skin loses a little bit of its shine, like in the case of an avocado. Avocado will be green when it's not ready, and gradually as it ripens, it'll get a little bit of a yellowness or a paleness to it, and that's how you know.
Okay, what about white sapote?
White sapote, nice fruit, very tender skin. It's not commonly found, but it's a good fruit, and if you haven't had it, you should try it.
Do you sell the tree here? We
recently got a batch of them, and we should have them growing out in 15 and 25 gallon soon.
What variety did you get? Do you remember?
I don't.
Okay. Are all your varieties of what you do have listed on your website?
Not on the website, but if you call us, we'll tell you. And what we do is, by and large, any tree we have, we're going to put, if we know, if it's got a variety, it's going to have a name on it.
Great.
And if it doesn't have the name, in this case, M stands for morado in Spanish, which is purple.
Oh,
so
great.
We tend to label everything and we date them. The date means when we actually put it in this pot.
Nice. So I'm going to ask you a question now. You have a lot of experience you gained over the years. If somebody has a yard, a small yard, let's say a quarter acre, for South Florida, the top, in your opinion, I know it's personal preference, the top 3 trees to plant and the top 3 that you wouldn't even waste your time with?
Well, I usually, when customers ask me that, I tell people, since you have a limited space, what is the fruit you're going to eat? There's no sense in putting something that I like and the customer is not going to enjoy the fruit. So they need to figure out, and we can, if we have them in season, they can try the fruit here. But if not, I recommend they actually try the fruit somewhere. Fruit and Spice Park, Roberts is here. Try the fruit, make sure you like it. Once you like it, then we can hone in on selecting the best variety for you. You know, okay. I like mango. Some people are either allergic to mango or don't particularly care for mango. You know, so why bother?
Okay, so let me ask you the question this way. In your opinion, what's the top 3 easiest trees to grow and the top 3 hardest trees to grow?
Well, the easiest are going to be like Carambola, Loquat, strawberry tree. Those are easy to grow. If you have grandkids, I tell people the strawberry tree, the grandkids are going to love the strawberry tree. Tastes like cotton candy. So, you know, sugar apple's pretty easy to grow. but you got a lot of seed. I love sugar apple though. It's a great fruit. Longan's going to produce good fruit, nice shade. So, you know, there's a lot of variability to the answer.
What about the 3 hardest trees that people got to put a lot of time into?
Probably any Garcinia. Slow. You have to have a lot of patience, you know.
And give people an example of
a mangosteen.
Okay.
I think they're wasting their time trying to do a lot with mangosteen. A collector may have a mangosteen, but the average person I don't think should dabble in mangosteen. Jackfruit, if you love the fruit and you're willing to dig through, it gets a little messy. It's a great fruit, but not everybody wants to deal with the mess. But I think having a mango is very South Florida. An avocado is very South Florida. And again, I think the large avocado is what I would go with. I know a lot of people still want the Haas type, but I think a Donnie or a Simmons or a Choquette, a Catalina are a great addition to the yard.
Great. Well, thank you. Thanks for showing us around here.
Thank you, Paul.
All right. All right, everybody. There it was. I told you the man is a wealth of knowledge. And if you're looking for a fruit tree, if you're in the area especially, and I don't know how busy he is. I'm sure he's busy like everyone else that has fruit trees. But if you can't get an answer to a question, he might just have it. So maybe see if he has a good answer for you of what tree you should get. But also support him and buy a tree from him if you're in the area because he has a wide selection. If you have comments or questions, post them below. His link to his website and his address is below the video here in the description. And he has the hours he's there, his phone number, and everything. Put your comments or questions below. Thank you, Al, for showing us around. And everybody, thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. And until then, everybody, have a great day and keep growing.